Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of the meals that I have made for my family here recently in my kitchen. These are all budget friendly and very simple, something that can be whipped up in a small amount of time. A couple of these are also meals that I've repurposed from other meals. They are using leftovers in new ways and making them into new meals, saving on money and also limiting your food waste in the kitchen. The first meal that we're going to be making today is what I'm referring to as a Mexican lasagna. This meal was delicious and simple, and it came in around $10 to make. I'm starting off by grilling some chicken breasts. Now these are ones that I have cut in half to make them thinner, and I'm seasoning them with this cowboy butter. This is like my favorite seasoning. I use it on everything. So that is the only seasoning I'm using. I'm doing a good amount, and I just threw all that on the grill. Now I'm not going to be using all of this in today's recipe. I'm only going to be using a couple of chicken breasts. I think it actually came out to like two full chicken breasts, so 4 of these pieces. I just diced those up and I'm going to put those into a bowl. The rest of them I went ahead and put into the fridge for other recipes. So like I said, I just diced them up into small pieces. I'm putting them in this bowl and I'm going to mix them with the rest of the ingredients. You could also use rotisserie chicken if you have it, or if you already have prepared boiled chicken, however you want to do it. That was just how I did it. I knew I wanted chicken for other recipes and I wanted to grill it ahead of time, so that is what I did, but you could really vary that however you want to do it. This recipe also calls for a small can of diced chilies. I didn't have that, but I did want to add in the onions that it did not call for, so that is what I did. I diced up some onions, put that in. I had about half a cup of salsa left, so I put that in with some garlic and chili powder. So I'm going to mix all that in. Now, I used Greek yogurt, but you can use sour cream if you want. The original recipe did call for sour cream, so you can put that in if you want, but I find that Greek yogurt tastes so similar, and especially in these recipes, you can't really tell, so I added that in instead. About a handful of cheddar cheese, and now I'm going to give that a good mix. You'll be able to find this recipe along with a couple others from today's video down below in the description box if you want to try making any of these yourself. Now, the original recipe called to use a 9x9 pan, but I went ahead and I'm just using one of these casserole dishes. I am greasing the bottom and the sides very well so the whole tortillas and the entire casserole does not stick to the bottom or the sides. So I grease that really well, and then I'm going to add in tortillas, and really you can do this however you want. I'm just doing it in a way to where it covers the entire bottom. So I'm covering the entire bottom with tortillas, and then I'm going to take half of that chicken mixture that we mixed together. I'll spread that over the entire dish, and then again I'll do another layer of tortillas and then another layer of the chicken mixture. I'm going to spread this final layer over top, and then I'm going to top it with more cheese. I will cover it with foil, and I'm going to put it in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes covered. Then I'll remove the foil and I'll cook it an additional 30 minutes. And then it's usually done at that point. Just check it. You want to make sure it is browning and bubbly. Here's how it turns out when it's done. Now, before you cut it and serve it, you want to let it rest for about 10 minutes. That way it kind of stays together and doesn't get all messed up. So that is what I'll do. I just served it with a really simple side salad, and we had some pico de gallo, so it was a very simple dinner. I also did serve it with some fruit that we had on hand. Usually if I have like rice that I've made ahead of time, I'll serve it with that, but I didn't, so I kept it very simple. Our next meal is something that my kids practically begged for, so that is why I made it for dinner. And honestly, this can be done a variety of ways as well. The grilled chicken that I had made in the previous recipe, this would be delicious in as well, but my kids specifically wanted fried chicken, so they wanted it to be like chicken tenders. And honestly, if you don't have as much time, you could really just get chicken tenders from the store, or like I said, you could use like grilled chicken that you have on hand and just kind of chop it up in big strips is usually what I do, because it's a little easier to have in a tortilla. But anyway, they also were very adamant that they wanted potato wedges, so that is what I'm doing. For these, what I do is I just chop them into wedges, and then I will put them in a big bowl of ice water to rest for about, 15-ish minutes. Then once that is done, I'll take them out and I put them onto like a paper towel lined surface. So that's what I'm doing here. They'll dry out. Once they're dry, then I will mix on the oil and seasonings, and I like just baking mine in the oven. I feel like it's a lot easier and I don't have to deal with taking them in and out of the oil, and it turns out you just have to allow a little bit more time in the oven, but I like how it's kind of put it in and forget about it for about an hour. So that is what I'm doing. I'm making sure that I line my baking sheet with parchment paper to make cleanup very easy, and that way they don't really stick to the bottom. So what I'm seasoning them with is salt, pepper. I'm putting on some Parmesan, garlic, onion powder, and paprika. So just seasoning them pretty good, and then I'll mix them up, put them onto the baking sheet, and then we'll put them in. I do it at about 400 degrees, and really the timing will be different for everyone. I want to say it takes about an hour, and I do flip them in between. Here's how they'll look when you are putting them into the oven. So they're nice and coated with oil and a variety of seasonings. Now I'm going to bread the chicken. All I did was cut it into strips, and then I want to say this was 3 chicken breasts. So I just cut 3 like medium-sized chicken breasts up into strips, and that was actually plenty for my family of 6. We had leftovers. So I did that. I put them in some flour, and then I'm going to dip them in an egg wash, and then a mixture of panko breadcrumbs and flour. I didn't season these because I plan on seasoning them when I take them out of the oil. Like I said, again, you could definitely do this other ways and it would be just as delicious. I feel like what makes it is the sauce that I'll make. So all I did was a very simple honey mustard, and I've made this in previous videos, but I make this again for this, and I feel like that was the star of the show. Even my husband said something about it being the star of the show. Now that I have the chicken all coated, I am going to start frying them up. And honestly, I got lucky this night. My daughter came in and she decided to do all the rest of these. So you'll see that I do just a couple, but I got out of doing a lot of the chicken. Here's how the potato wedges turned out. Like I said, it takes about an hour, but that could also depend on how you like yours, if you like them a little bit more done or a little less done than how I had them. We had plenty of these potato wedges left over. I always seem to overestimate the potatoes in basically any form. So we had plenty of those left over, which was nice because we had some for lunch the next day and my husband was able to bring it to work. So I just drizzled some honey mustard on top. I put them in a wrap and served them with some potato wedges, and this was dinner. It was quick and easy and delicious. This next meal is something that I always refer to as barbecue bowls. Now, this recipe is very different depending on what you have because I really just use whatever I have on hand. Honestly, I feel like what I aim for with this recipe is whatever you'd have at like a barbecue. So this can change from time to time. And like I said, I'm using what I have on hand. So I'm starting off with some sweet potatoes that are diced up. These are just frozen ones. I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff onto this baking sheet and then put it in the oven to roast. But my whole goal with this was we had some chicken left over from Mother's Day that we had put on the grill that I'm wanting to cut up and use. We had made so much for Mother's Day because we had quite a bit of people come over, and there is only so many times that I can talk my family into eating leftovers in basically the same way. So we had the chicken for a couple of days for leftovers. We had it for Mother's Day, and now my kids are just about tired of it. So I'm going to try to put it in a new way, in a new dish. So that is my goal for today. We also had some leftover garlic potatoes, but I didn't have enough to use for like the base of the bowls. So because of that, that's why I'm going to be putting this sheet pan together. So I did the frozen sweet potatoes. I just did one bag of those because like I said, I also have the garlic potatoes. I diced up some onions and put that on. Now I am dicing up some Brussels sprouts. I have oil in the pan. I'm going to just toss those. I'll season them and put them in the oven. And then, like I said, I'm just going to take out the chicken and a variety of things that we have left over and make a dish for dinner. I've also used like French fries in this recipe. You can use a variety of potatoes. You can also just have like a salad and do this stuff as a salad. I've done this a variety of ways, and like I said, it's just kind of to get stuff out of my fridge and not have it go to waste, repurpose things in new ways, and that way you can kind of get rid of stuff, but your family's not necessarily sick of eating the same thing over and over and over. So this recipe will vary every single time I make it, and it's just whatever we have on hand, trying to use it in new ways. I also love these one sheet meals. They are so nice, and all the veggies, they kind of roast together and they just take on this really wonderful flavor. If you have meat that you want to throw onto this, that always is really great too because they take on that flavor as well. It's just so easy, and it's so nice to just have a meal where you can just put it in the oven and kind of forget about it for a little while. Those are like my favorite meals, especially on busy days. So I have it all seasoned. I'm going to pop that into the oven. I'll toss it around in between and just roast it until they're done. So this is the leftover chicken that we have from Mother's Day. It's just seasoned chicken that we threw on the grill. I cut that up and cooked it. So now I'm going to assemble the bowl. I also have some leftover coleslaw, so I'm going to use that in the bottom. And like I said, just kind of bringing whatever we had on hand together and making a barbecue bowl with it. And it's funny because I do these bowls for different things. But if it's like tacos, for instance, I'll call it a taco bowl. Like I'll change the name of it depending on what leftovers we have going in it. So I'm just going to assemble the bowl. And like I said, it's going to look different for everyone. And everyone will come in and just kind of assemble their own bowl depending on, what they want in it. Here's how these turned out. They were quick and easy and also delicious. Another reason I like to do these, not only just for the food waste and using up everything that you have, but it's extremely budget friendly to do meals like this ever so often. I try to do it probably once a week, use up stuff before I go to the grocery store. So anyway, that was dinner, and now we're going to move on to our next meal. So this one is really simple. This is another one that I am going to make a large quantity because my kids really love this, and it goes over very well for like lunches and stuff. So I am going to be making fried rice. Now the whole point of this was we also had steak left over from Mother's Day. So I chopped that up whenever we were putting stuff away on Mother's Day. And I just put it aside, and I knew that I would be making this. So you could really use any variety of meat if you want. If you have rotisserie chicken left over or grilled chicken, whatever you want to do, you could use this a variety of different ways. You also don't even have to add meat if you do not want to. So like I said, we had leftover steak that I did not want to go to waste, and this is a really great recipe to put it in. Also, my kids absolutely love this recipe, so I'm making a very large quantity. I just put a little bit of oil in the bottom of this pan, and then I put about 4 cups of rice. I'm also adding in some garlic, and I did chicken bouillon. So now that has kind of cooked, I let it cook until it starts to brown. A lot of times I get distracted and it cooks a little longer than I want it to, but it still turns out just fine. So I put in the water. I usually do about equal the amount of the rice, and then I wanted to add some veggies, so I put in a whole bag of mixed veggies, and then I let that steam for about 15 to 17 minutes. And then I'll go in and I'm just fluffing it up now, getting it all mixed together. Once I have that all mixed together, I'm going to add in the steak. It is cold, so I wanted to just kind of reheat it with the rice. So I'm going to add in the steak, and then I also will add in some eggs that I'm going to be making. A lot of times I will do the scrambled eggs in the same pan as the rice, mostly because I like to save on dishes. However, I felt like doing it this way might make a little bit more sense to show you guys. So anyway, I am also scrambling up, because I have a lot of rice, I'm scrambling up quite a bit of eggs. So I think I did like 6. And you'll just scramble them up. You don't have to add any milk or water or anything. Then once they're all scrambled up, you're going to chop them up and put them back into the rice. Like I said, I will usually do about 4 eggs, and I really just do them in the same pan as the rice. But because I had so much, and I also figured for you guys, it might just be a little easier to see it done this way. And this way is completely fine too. It's pretty much the same results. So I'll mix that in, and then that is it. I like to add in some chopped green onion on top. I feel like that really makes it. I don't know why. It like completely elevates the flavor. So I'm adding some of that on top, and then that is it. Like I said, I like to put this in a big Tupperware, and my kids will eat it for lunches a lot of times, but we'll also have this for dinner. It's a really quick dinner to throw together. And again, using things that we have in the fridge that we need to get rid of, that we do not want to waste, and it makes a really delicious dinner. For the last meal that we have today, I am going to be making something that I have made a bajillion times on my channel. This is one of the meals that I grew up with as a child, and I am making it exactly the same way, but I am making beef stroganoff. This is something that we usually have on rotation. I wouldn't say weekly, but we definitely have this maybe once a month. It's just so simple, and it always reminds me of my childhood. This was one of our favorite meals growing up. And then also it is very budget friendly. It was interesting because one of these days this week, my husband, he came to me and was telling me about a coworker that he has at the shop that was telling him how they're trying to save money on groceries. They usually shop at like one of the smaller stores in their town, and those, if you're familiar, are very, very expensive. It is much cheaper to go somewhere else. But they do that out of convenience, and they are spending a lot. So they were talking to him about like budget friendly meals and trying to figure out, you know, some cheaper meals that they can make for their family. It was interesting because I was actually making this while he was telling me about it. And I'm like, why don't you tell him this? Like, we were trying to figure out the price for this, and it is definitely below $10. I didn't fully figure out the price, but you can make this a variety of ways. You could even do turkey meat, so ground turkey or ground chicken. I'm using a pound of ground beef. You can just change this up and it would end up being really cheap. We were trying to think it could possibly be about $5 to make just this small batch, depending on how you made it. So anyway, it is a very budget-friendly meal, and it's also really delicious. So anyway, what I have going in this pan is I have a pound of ground beef going. I just salt and pepper, and then once that is starting to cook, I'll throw in an onion that I diced up and a green bell pepper. I like to keep the bell pepper in larger pieces because my kids do not really love the taste of it. So a lot of times they will take it out. But I do feel like it's imperative to put it in because I feel like the flavor it adds to the dish is really, really good. So I will add it for that extra flavor, but I put them in larger chunks in case anybody wants to pick it out. Pretty much the same with the mushrooms. Not all of my kids like mushrooms. I really love mushrooms in this dish, but I'll keep them fairly large so they can be picked out in case anybody does not want them. So I'm adding in the mushrooms when the hamburger and everything is pretty much done because they take hardly any time to cook. So I'll mix that in. I also have the pot of water and noodles going on the other side. You can use a variety of noodles. My mom used to use like the spiral ones every single time. And then I always use whatever I have on hand. So this day I had a bunch of elbow noodles. So that is what I used. Now that I have the noodles all done and drained, I'm going to add in 2 cans of cream of mushroom soup. And then I like to add in sour cream. I did not do the Greek yogurt this time because one, I wasn't going to be eating this. If you haven't been here a while, I am on a diet. So a lot of these I'm either altering the meal or I'm really just having like grilled chicken. So I was not having this meal. So instead of the Greek yogurt, I went ahead and I just did sour cream. So I added in some sour cream. You also do not have to add the sour cream. That was just something that I grew up with my mom throwing in, and I'm not sure if it really makes a difference because I've never had it without. So I'm adding in just a dollop of sour cream and then giving that a good mix, and then I'll mix in the other ingredients. I also like to add in some milk. That really, I don't measure at all. It's more of a consistency thing. My mom, I don't think she ever added the milk, but I like it a little bit more of a creamy consistency. So I add in about a splash of milk and really just take it to whatever consistency I'm trying to achieve. Again, something that can be left out definitely if you don't want to add it in. I always just season mine with a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's pretty much it. I like to keep it very simple, exactly how my mom's had it. She always served ours like a true 90s mom with a slice of bread and butter. And that is oftentimes what I do as well. I don't think I actually did it this time, but that's usually what I do. So this is how it turns out. Very simple meal. It comes together very quick. And like I said, it is extremely budget friendly. But anyway, this is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.